Oh my God. Have you ever heard the Regina song?
I have not heard the Regina song.
Oh man, if we could only mix it in, I'd have to find it again.
Okay. We'll figure that out.
Regina, experience Regina. Regina.
Welcome back to Poutine Politics, Canadian Issues Served with Cheese Curds. My name's Adam.
My name's Mike.
And today, we're going to be talking about the Green Party platform because it came out this week.
Yay. And remember, everyone, promises made, promises kept.
No, that's the conservative motto. This is not the conservative platform. They don't have a platform. They have policies. They still don't have a platform. This is the Green Party platform. They actually have a document.
I know.
So theirs is not left, not right, forward, together.
That's right.
That,
I forgot the slogan on it.
remember? So
I hate slogans. They're so bad.
I know. Before we get started on the platform, though, at the start of the last episode about the Rhino Party, I called out the people in Hamilton because they're awesome and they've been listening to our shows. They are the city with the most listens, and I guess they took up the call. Actually, their listens more than doubled. Let's just put it that way. So, hands out to Hamilton. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a competition here. Okay. So currently, the second place is Regina. In third place is the largest city in the country, which is Toronto. To which I say, is Toronto really going to let the Hammer win? All right, come on, seriously? Like this is the Labor Day game all over again.
But the worst problem is I don't know anyone in Hamilton. I mean, I do know people in Toronto, but I don't know anyone in Hamilton.
I don't think I know anybody in Hamilton. No, sorry, I think I know one person in Hamilton.
Your brother might.
Maybe. It's a possibility. Anyways, then we got fourth place is Edmonton, and currently fifth place is Aurelia. Thanks to our international listeners. We have some regular listeners from Washington, D.C. and from California. We also have a regular listener from Paris, France.
I really apologize for the French. I'm sorry.
I'm assuming it's like a Canadian expat or maybe someone who's like living there working for a few years or something like that. If not, bonjour. And if so, bonjour as well.
Comment ça va?
Bien. We get someone from people from Ireland that pop up every now and then. And then for the Rhinoceros Party episode, we actually had someone from India.
All right.
I don't know anybody from India. Someone from India listening to a Canadian Issues podcast. All right. We're doing something right.
The Rhino Party.
The Rhino Party of Canada.
Can you imagine this blows up and like there's like 100,000 listeners and we're talking about one person?
Oh. You know what?
It's therapeutic.
It's It's a very small podcast right now, but it's so much fun. Paying attention to stats like that, it's great. Anyways, so some of our other Canadian cities have some work to do. They got to catch up to Hamilton. I mean,
where's my adopted city of Calgary? Like that needs to step up.
Calgary was on there for a bit.
No,
and
Calgary
then
needs
dropped
to
off
step
again.
up. I don't care what they say.
You don't. Okay, never mind.
It needs to be the Red Mile all the way.
All right. I mean, it's only your adopted. Why was it your adopted city? Let's go there.
What? Why?
Yeah.
Because my favorite player growing up was from there.
And who's that?
Theron Fleury.
Okay.
Why? Because there's only so many people that are like 5'6" that you can cheer for in professional sports.
The other little bit, I guess, to add maybe a current affairs flair to this episode. You've heard about the Justin Trudeau blackface situation, right?
It's not black.
I know.
It was brown.
Well, the video was black, apparently.
He was wearing brown face makeup. Guess what? Brown face isn't a thing.
Okay.
It's not a thing. He went to an Arabian party and dressed in brown. Yeah, stupid and terrible taste, but this is the man that fell downstairs when the parties got boring. Like, this is where we're coming from. Why is, like, yes, it should be, he should apologize, great, but it's not a big deal. He's just an idiot. 20 years ago. I don't care. You ask me what I was like 20 years ago? Yeah, okay. Some people find pictures of me 20 years ago. I can be taken down from this podcast.
Yeah, but I mean, I remember I told my wife, I said, you know, there was a Halloween party I went to where I was dressed up as like a special forces soldier, like I had, you know, like an M16 and everything else like that, but I painted my face camo. And I'm like, you know, if that picture wasn't in color, it might look like I was in blackface. And it's like, I totally wasn't.
Straight up, in grade 8, I went as crisscross, put my pants on backwards, and had black makeup on. So, like, I'm not gonna apologize. I'm not even gonna apologize for that. I just dressed up as a kid. Like, and Justin Trudeau at that time, he was in his 20s. How many dumb things did you do in your 20s that are just dumb? Like, we're not talking, like you regret. You're just like, oh yeah. I could make an entire podcast about the stupid things I've done in my time.
Yeah, very true. Okay. So now that we're done that, because really I feel similar about it. Like I saw it and I'm like, well, this isn't going to be great. And then he did the apology like that night within a couple of hours of the article from Time coming out. And then whatever, it's 3 days now. Was it Wednesday or Thursday? Either way, it's been at least 3 days. It's still going on. And it's like, I don't know. Are there people that are, you know what? White people are more offended by it than people of color. There, I said it.
Probably. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's just so many things wrong with it.
Anyways. Okay. So let's get on to our topic today, the Green Party platform. Again, I'm going to try and do this like the NDP platform episode where I'm not going to go over everything because there's a lot. Here's what I do like about this platform in comparison to the NDP one, since that's the only one that we can compare this against right now. It actually has defined goals, defined policies.
And they're also going to bring it to the parliamentary office.
Parliamentary budget officer.
Yeah.
They already did. So did you watch the McLean's debate?
No.
Okay. You know what? I watched it and then like an hour later, the Conservative Party Twitter account puts up a tweet that's like, Andrew Scheer wins debate. And I'm like, obviously the Conservative Party did not watch the debate because Andrew Scheer did not win the debate.
Andrew Scheer is not a good debate. Like, he's a good robot.
He did not win the debate. I'm sorry, people. If anybody won the debate, Elizabeth May won the debate. Or I guess if you wanted to go a little bit further than that, there's a lot of people that said that Justin Trudeau won the debate and he wasn't even there.
Yeah, he won the debate by not showing up.
But of the three that participated, if you don't think that Elizabeth May won, you're crazy. There's a lot more defined policies in here. A couple of the things kind of off the top is obviously reconciliation with First Nations. That's been a big thing over the last number of years with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls Inquiry, powering homes and businesses with 100% renewable energy, retrofitting buildings for higher energy efficiency standards, and then banning the sale of internal combustion engine vehicles. So by 2030, they want all vehicles that are being sold in this country to be electric. That could be a stretch.
France is doing it. So if France can do it, we can do it.
Yeah, I guess if
they have the
France,
market. If enough markets are going to do it, there's going to be a market for it, so it won't be a problem.
Yeah, fair enough. I know there's other smaller European nations that are doing it too, and it's probably easier for them being smaller. Like I think the issue that some people see in regards to only having electric vehicles being sold in Canada is whether we can have the infrastructure in place in time for this goal. Let's say if the Green Party won, this is a goal that they want implemented by 2030. If you go, we keep talking about Tesla, but that's because they're kind of the innovators when it comes to the electric vehicles. If you go on their website, you can actually find a map where it shows where they have either built or are currently building or getting approvals to put charging stations. Now, they're not the only ones putting in charging stations, but if you look, they have development in progress all along the Trans-Canada Highway, all the way out to the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you know what? In the next couple of years, you probably would be able to drive an electric vehicle from one side of the country to the other.
Yeah, and with charging ports, because you could do it now.
Locally sourced food and urban agriculture, prescription and dental added to universal health care, post-secondary education tuition free, and everybody receives a guaranteed livable income. So that's a broad overview.
Yeah.
So let's start with the broad overview. What do you think?
Oh, I'm happy to see a bunch of different things. The only thing that it caused me concern is that they want to cancel the Trans Mountain Pipeline and a lot of other oil-producing natural gas, which will piss off Alberta. And the way Jason Kenney's talking, they might be looking at leaving Canada, which would be an whole other issue. Now,
not being an Indigenous person myself, it's very difficult to talk about the reconciliation with Indigenous peoples section of the platform, just because, I understand what Indigenous people have gone through in this country. I don't feel like I can talk to that with enough knowledge to give the topic the right weight.
We still have the Indian knack.
Yes, exactly. And I mean that's part of their policies is to get rid of the Indian Act over time because
and there was a union. They talked about the UNDRIP and the fact that basically the United Nations were like, the UN was like, hey, listen, you're terrible with your Indigenous people. You should do more stuff with it. And Canada's like, yeah, no, we voted against it along with New Zealand and other Commonwealth nations like Australia. And then we did a modified version, but they want to put back in what was originally talked about in UNDRIP.
Yes. So for those that don't know what UNDRIP is, it's the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Okay, well, one of the things in here in regards to Indigenous people and education is increasing access to post-secondary by removing the 2% funding cap. So I guess there's a cap to the increase in funding that goes towards Indigenous students for post-secondary education. So by eliminating that cap, hopefully they can get more students into post-secondary education.
Yep.
Addressing the climate emergency, so keeping global warming below 1.5 Celsius, increase from the 1850 baseline. For addressing the climate emergency would be the Climate Change Act. Okay, so currently Canada's goal under the Paris Agreement is to have carbon emissions, so CO2 and CO2 equivalents, reduced by 30% below 2005 levels by 2030. And currently what we're doing for that is the carbon tax. There's some other smaller little initiatives that most people haven't necessarily heard about because there's business investment where because businesses technically are paying into the carbon tax as well. There's investment projects that exist where they can get grants from the government to improve energy efficiency within their businesses. This is obviously the quote unquote scandal that happened with Loblaws, where the government gave Loblaws $12 million to retrofit refrigerators in their stores to make them more energy efficient. And people are like, why are they giving Loblaws $12 million? And I'm like, it's $12 million in the budget of $350 billion. And Loblaws has to front 3 times the amount of money. And they're going to end up spending less money. Like, they're paying into the carbon tax. They're using money that's being generated from the carbon tax so they pay less carbon tax. But there's a lot of people that don't like the carbon tax. So anyways, that's why there's outrage. So anyways, the Climate Change Act would institute, essentially by law or legislation, that would require a 60% cut in emissions below the 2005 levels by 2030. So twice as ambitious as what our commitment to the Paris Agreement was.
Yeah, we have to. It's not even a question.
100%. That's what the Climate Change Act from the Green Party would be. Jumping through their climate emergency action plan. So no new pipelines, no new coal, oil, or gas drilling or mining. Existing oil and gas operations either will continue on a declining basis. Bitumen will be phased out between 2030 and 2035. Cancel TMX, so the Trans Mountain Pipeline, or Trans Mountain Expansion, I guess, because the Trans Mountain Pipeline's there and it's already running. It's already moving oil. 100% renewable electricity by 2030. National electrical grid strategy. So right now, one of the problems we have in Canada is that there are a lack of connections between provinces. This is part of the issue that we have in Ontario, where because we're generating so much more electricity than we need to use on average, and we end up, quote unquote, selling the electricity to Michigan and New York, where it's not really selling it, we're technically paying them to take it off our hands. Because our electrical grid has connections to, say, Quebec, New York, and Michigan, but there is no connection in our electrical grid to Manitoba. And as a result, we can't send the electricity that we generate, the excess electricity that we generate in Ontario, west. We can't send it out west because there's no connection between Ontario and Manitoba. So maybe we should do that. Retrofitting all buildings for energy efficiency by 2030. Let's talk about that one.
For energy efficiency?
Yes.
That's been discussed before, where they're trying to make buildings to be able to be more carbon neutral, right?
Right.
Like if you're looking at air conditioning or heating or, well, those are the 2 big ones. But
like it'd be things like more passive heating systems, more passive cooling systems, probably things like solar panels, insulation, just, especially with older homes, doing things to older homes to make them more energy efficient. Like an old century farmhouse, it might as well be full of holes.
Well, yeah. Single pane windows.
Yes, exactly. one of the things in this climate emergency action plan is about the jobs that they're trying to create, or the number of jobs that they're trying to create. This is one of those projects where they're hoping to create a large number of jobs.
I never like when government platform policy is talking about spending money to create jobs. It's a byproduct of it, but it's not. I don't want to hear that that's part of your incentive program, because
Right.
it shouldn't be. It should never be. I'm spending money to create jobs. Just pay us. Skip the middleman.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, is it possible that because in this circumstance it would be a government mandated program, that the government would potentially pay the wages of these people? But not necessarily directly, but maybe by the way of like wage grants or something like that.
And that's not what my point is. Is like, if you're going to trumpet something, don't trumpet that because you're doing something, you're going to create jobs. Like,
Okay,
I don't want to hear that.
fair enough. Transitioning to a green economy. Okay, so this was the part where the jobs came up about they're saying that their numbers are saying that the building retrofit program could employ up to 4 million people across the country,
Snore.
whereas currently the oil and gas industry only employs 62,000 people. I guess the issue there is, all the people out in Alberta that are worried about losing their jobs that work in the oil and gas industry. There's a lot of training and experience that they have that would be able to transition into building retrofit, right? Whether it's heavy equipment training, whether it's anything like that, right?
The Maritimes did flock to Alberta to get jobs. And those people that are willing to flock from one area were willing to flock again.
Yeah.
So,
Don't forget Newfoundland. I know you said the Maritimes. Newfoundland is not part of the Maritimes, and they get insulted when you include them.
Listen.
I'm just telling it as it is.
You're in the Gulf of the St. Lawrence. You're part of the Maritimes.
All right.
If you're from Labrador and you want to call me out on that, you go right ahead.
Okay. You can send your hate mail to Mike on Twitter, but he's not on Twitter.
Yeah, I don't have a Twitter account.
Part of the green economy thing is transitioning people in the oil and gas sector to other sectors, because with a phase out of fossil fuels, their jobs become, well, not redundant, because they end, because if we're not pulling coal, oil, and gas out of the ground, they don't have jobs.
Nope.
Right. So a lot to do with funding transitions for those people. Whether it's support systems, whether it's training and education, whether it's assistance with finding jobs, whether it's providing guaranteed livable income in the interim, so that they're not in financial dire straits while they're trying to get new training for a new job, things like that. Fair taxation, close loopholes for the wealthy, such as the stock option deduction and the capital gains, increasing the capital gains inclusion rate. We've talked about those before. Taxing funds in offshore havens. It's such a hard thing to push for. It's necessary, but it is such a hard thing to push for, I guess, is the problem. Financial transaction tax of 0.2%. So every time someone puts a trade on the stock market, government takes 0.2% of that trade. Increase the federal corporate tax rate. So this is on larger businesses. This is the general corporate tax rate, from 15% to 21%.
Like it was before, right?
It's been a little while since it's been there, but 21% is the current federal corporate tax rate in the United States.
Yeah, it's not.
Right. Now, I guess the only thing that I would say about that when it comes to businesses is that as long as the dollar stays relatively where it is now, then that should be fine. But if we ever get to the point where the dollar goes back up towards par, that could be catastrophic. 5% surtax on bank profits.
Yeah. The banks need banks and just nationalize them.
And very specifically the commercial banks, not credit unions and things like that. So the policy document actually stated that the combined profits of the big five banks in 2018 was $43 billion.
Yeah.
So 5% of that.
Yeah.
On top of them having to pay, say that 21% corporate tax rate. So.
Sorry, did you hear about the corporate tax on e-commerce?
Oh yeah, it was too. Corporate tax on transnational e-commerce. That's right. So companies having to pay taxes where products are consumed.
Right. Which is way better.
Yes, absolutely. So, say a company like Amazon sells a product in Canada or sells a product, let's say specifically in British Columbia, the profit that they make off of that sale, they'd have to pay the taxes here. Or, yeah, so. As part of taxing the funds in offshore havens, it was also forcing companies to prove that foreign affiliates are actual functioning businesses. So going back to the conversation where we were talking about Facebook operating in Ireland, right? Or moving their profits to Ireland to pay the ridiculously low corporate tax rate. Those foreign companies would have to prove that the operations that they're essentially trying to move those profits to are actual functioning entities with employees and offices and whatever.
Reminds me of the scandal that happened when there was a Russian crime boss that opened up a magnet company that didn't actually exist, but it got it listed on the TSX.
What?
You didn't hear about this?
I don't think I did.
Okay, so there's a magnet company that the guy opened up. On the board of trustees was the former premier for Ontario, David Peterson, was on the board of trustees.
Oh yeah, okay, from the 80s, yeah.
Yeah. And it was a magnet company that everyone invested in. He had shares in like the I can't remember what the Russian guy is, but he's like the big one.
Yeah.
The big crime boss. And he sold the shares. And then I found out that the magnet company was based in Austria, I'll say. I'm not sure. But it didn't actually make any magnets.
Jeez.
It got listed on the TSX. This is why
enough people put enough money into stupid things, and stupid things happen.
Yeah, but the guy was our premier, and he was on the board of directors.
Oh, man. Okay. No, I hadn't heard that story.
Yeah, amazing.
Okay, immigration. Ensure professionals have the licensing requirements explained to them before entry. So, quick anecdote. So when I was a teenager and I was working at Walmart, I had a coworker there who was from Russia who was working at Walmart, but was a doctor. Legally allowed to be a doctor at home in Russia. Immigrated to Canada. She would have had to do a whole bunch of licensing courses that would have cost her thousands upon thousands of dollars in order to become a doctor in Canada. Why? What's the difference in training? We have a shortage. This was back in like 2000, 2001. It's like we had a shortage of doctors then. We still have a shortage of doctors now. Let's make sure that if people are coming to Canada and they have the qualifications to be a doctor, be a lawyer, be an accountant, be a, whatever, that we make it easier for them.
Yeah, cutting red tape is something I would love to see.
Yeah. Of course, a lot of people complain about people coming to Canada and learn to speak English or learn to speak our languages. Well, guess what? The Green Party wants to increase funding for official languages training. That's kind of important too. You want people to start talking our languages? Maybe we should train them. Maybe we should offer more training so that they can.
But they're going to take our jobs.
They're going to take our jobs. They're going to take our jobs. Oh, man. Reimagining Canada Post. So part of that is upgrading their vehicle fleet to electric vehicles, and then also establishing postal bank service again, and also public high-speed internet service in post offices. So especially for small rural communities, if you don't have access to high-speed internet at home, you could go to the post office and have access to high-speed internet there.
Yeah, we did. We have done similar mass communications things when we did that micro network for the CBC way back in the day.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's not something that Canada has to overtake. But she also talking about getting back to immigration, about repealing the third party status with the USA.
The Safe Third Country Agreement.
Yeah.
I meant to look that up before we started.
Essentially, it just means that because U.S. is so backwards on their immigration policy, right now we have a refugee status policy. So if you land in the U.S. but you want refugee status in Canada and you're like in one of those border towns, you have to apply for it in the U.S., even if you're in Canada.
Right, okay, yeah.
So let's say you land in the U.S., you walk through and you go to Canada. You can't then be like, hey, listen, I want to become a refugee in Canada. They're like, no, go back to the U.S.
Right.
And they're saying, no, we don't want to do that because U.S.'s policies are crazy.
Gotcha. Okay. Fair enough. Thank you. Oh, I guess this one was an important one under immigration too. So improving the permanent residency and citizenship capability for students and foreign workers. Actually, oh yeah, that's right. Foreign workers. Sorry, I missed this one. They want to eliminate the temporary foreign workers program and increase immigration to address labor shortages.
Yes, because we are in a severe labor shortage problem.
Yes.
It'll help out with our economy, and we are Canada as a whole is losing population.
No, if immigration was zero, our population would be declining. Food and food security, protecting supply management. but allow local markets to exist. So do you remember however many years ago the Michael Schmidt situation with the raw milk?
Yeah.
Okay. So for anybody that doesn't know, he's a farmer in Ontario who he was providing raw milk to, let's say, neighbors essentially. And dairy farmers of Ontario, wanted to go in and shut him down. That's illegal. He doesn't have quota. He's not selling it to the milk board and things like that. And technically within the rules, you're not allowed to sell milk unless it goes through Dairy Farmers of Ontario. And his argument was, well, I'm not selling them the milk. These people own a percentage of the cow, and they get a percentage of what the cow creates. That didn't stand up in court, unfortunately. What a surprise.
It was amazing defense, though. I liked it a lot.
It was a very good defense. But so the idea here is that we can maintain a supply management system with milk and chickens and eggs and the different quota systems that we have. But we can still have local markets where, maybe there's a small farm co-op in a community, and other people that live in that community could buy the milk from those farmers instead of the farmers having to sell the milk to the milk board, and then the milk have to go through processing and have to go to the grocery store, and those individuals having to buy it. For some individuals in remote locations, an adequate grocery store is a half hour to an hour drive away, if not more.
I would rather see the whole industry be upended because it's brutal. Quotas and all that kind of stuff, it just causes all kinds of problems. And the dairy, it's so bad. Like the dairy's a conglomerate. Or what? What did I just say?
Conglomerate?
No, I didn't say that word.
That's not what you meant? Okay.
That's the word I meant to say.
Oh, okay. That's not the word you said, but that's
No.
what you meant to say.
They're just colluding together. But they're just so powerful that we could get cheese from Wisconsin and it would be cheaper. But we can't because
of cross-border protectionism.
Yeah.
That's part of it. I mean, that's a very simple explanation for a complicated situation.
yeah, I'd like to get rid of the red tape there too. It would be amazing. But yes, allowing at least the conversation to be opened up locally would be good.
Yeah.
Because local is better.
And then in regards to oceans and fisheries, move open net aquaculture facilities to closed containment land systems by 2025. So the idea behind that is there's the whole, single-use plastics ban that the Liberals introduced, and a lot of people kind of make fun of it like, banning straws isn't going to do much. And you know what? Banning straws isn't going to do much. But you know what will do a bit, a lot more, is if you do things like this, where you move these fish farms, essentially, that are off the East Coast, and I guess off the West Coast too in some cases, and move them on land so that we're not dealing with the plastic fishing nets ending up getting broken and in the ocean and getting into other animals and whatever, affecting the habitat and the environment of the rest of the ocean.
Yes, the microplastics.
Yes. Arts, culture. Oh yeah, there's some people that are really going to love this one. Increase the CBC funding by $315 million per year until the per capita funding equals that of the BBC.
Yes, because investigative journalism is a good thing.
Yes.
Do you want a reporter that does it for a living, that's gone to school oftentimes for it, that has done the research on it to investigate politicians, or do you want John on Facebook to tell you? Which one do you want to get your news source from?
I don't know. John's pretty credible.
Go join Ontario Proud.
It's funny. It's so funny to me. This is part of the reason why I hate social media, is all the people online that are like CBC and their liberal bias. And it's like, you obviously hate the CBC so much that you don't pay attention to anything that they talk about, or or articles that they post, or the things that are on the news. Because if you think that they have a liberal bias, if you think they have a conservative bias, because there's people on the liberal side that think that the CBC has a conservative bias. You know what? If both sides think that the CBC has a bias towards the other, that means they're doing a pretty damn good job.
Right. It's so funny because you'll hear them. They go after everyone equally. Like, I'll say it again. It's not that they're biased towards one party or one group or another. They're just interested in sensationalism, which is a problem, yes, and giving them more money may cause more of that, maybe, but you still need investigative journalism, right? Like, you have to have that. Otherwise, What's going to stop a politician from doing whatever he wants?
A government-run media organization that is not regulated by the government, because it really isn't regulated by the government.
No.
They just get their funding from the government, is the most likely source of nonpartisan news and journalism in the country.
Yeah, that's why the BBC works.
Right. And part of the reasoning behind increasing the funding, because right now, like for however many years, I don't know, probably since its inception, the BBC has run without ads.
Yeah.
It isn't. I mean, some people will be like, well, that's just more money out of the taxpayers' pockets. And it's like, okay, but I like to be informed from a non-biased source. And guess what? The CBC is a non-biased source. Fight me on this. I don't care what people say. It is the most non-biased source of media that we have in this country.
Yeah. Because the alternative is, and you want to look at the different model, you look at the US's model. And the US model has Fox News and MSNBC.
Yeah.
They're both terrible. Fox News is right. If you don't think they are, you're just high as a kite. And if you don't think MSNBC is left wing, then obviously the oil barons have gotten to you. Like the best example of this is like Ben Shapiro, who, if you're a younger conservative, you're like, oh, Ben Shapiro's great. I'm like, yeah, until he had to go up against a real question.
From the BBC.
The BBC guy who is right wing asked him a critical thinking question and he broke and was like, oh, you're just attacking me because you're left wing. And the guy's like, you don't know me. You need to be told what to do. And he got told, and it was hilarious.
Yeah. Ben Shapiro ended up shutting down the interview, right?
Yeah.
He basically, he didn't storm out per se, but it might as well have been, right?
Yeah, he had that smug look on his face, the snowflake that he is.
Yes. Reform antitrust laws to enable the breakup of media conglomerates.
Thank God.
Yes. So the fact that it's at least 80% of the newspapers in this country are controlled by two companies, Post Media and Torstar. That's a big issue.
Yeah, I know why they did it. Like, it makes sense. But when you allow companies to merge, you take away competition. If you take away competition, it's no longer good.
Okay, cannabis. I want to talk about this one because of the news that came out recently that apparently in Ontario, at least, we managed to lose $42 million. That was our net loss from cannabis sales since legalization in October of 2018.
How do you lose money on that?
Exactly?
Like, if this is the thing that people were clamoring for, like, okay, let's pretend that you realized you're going to lose money. Wouldn't you just be like, hey, Jason Kenney, how'd your province do it? Can we just copy your model?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't Doug Ford do that? Like, just call him up, be like, hey, what's up, dude?
Why didn't they just use the model that existed before the election last June that was ready to go for October, instead of saying, nope, that's too much government involvement and blah, 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 whatever. We can't sell it through the LCBO. We're going to kill that plan and we're going to open it up to private business. And look how well that's gone, because there isn't even 100 licenses issued yet for private business to run cannabis stores in Ontario, in the largest province in the country. We don't even have licenses yet for 100 stores. You could have 100 stores in Toronto and not even meet the demand in Toronto. And we can't even get that many stores across the province.
Oh, man.
I'm not a cannabis user, but it's ridiculous. It's absolutely stupid. There's LCBOs everywhere. Why weren't we selling marijuana through the LCBO? It's already set up. The stores already exist.
Even if you wanted to do a transition, like, do it that way. But no, can't do that. We have to scrap everything the previous government does because it's not
Stick it to the Liberals.
Stick it to the Liberals.
Stick it to the Liberals.
Because every idea that they have is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Because, yeah. Instead, we'll lose money.
Man, I mean,
genius.
This is more ranty than I expected it to be, and it's not ranty about the stuff in the platform. It's ranty about the stuff we're just talking about after the fact.
I can rant about this platform if I wanted to.
Anyways, with cannabis, so lowering the federally set price for cannabis to compete with the black market. So that was part of the issue too. With the fact that the prices and the quality of the product led people to continue to buy their product from their dealers because they were getting better product at a cheaper price. That's how you lose money selling
No, you
cannabis.
still-
That's part of it. That's part of
still,
it. But
you
yes.
done screwed up.
Removing sales taxes on medicinal products. So no sales taxes if it's a medicinal product. That makes sense. There's no sales taxes on things like prescriptions. Why should there be sales taxes on medical marijuana or CBD oil? Allow outdoor production and impose organic standards. Right now, cannabis can only legally be grown in greenhouses. Never mind the fact that it grows well in a field as well. As we found out numerous times from all the different OPP raids on different farmers' fields.
I loved it when they interview the farmer, and the farmer's like, "I'm so mad," because he didn't have a clue what was going on. Because of some property it was some backlot that he wasn't using that year.
Yeah,
it was great.
Oh man.
Because now now he's got all kinds of. Oh yeah, it was awesome.
Guaranteed livable income comes up again with artificial intelligence. The idea is to protect people made vulnerable by job losses through automation, but also tax large corporations equivalent to the tax that would be paid by an employee if an employee has been laid off due to automation and artificial intelligence.
Yeah, that's garbage.
What do you mean?
If you lose your job because your job become automated, it sucks to be you.
The problem, I guess, is that looking forward, okay, there could be millions upon millions, possibly more jobs around the world, not necessarily just Canada, around the world that could be lost to automation.
Yes.
Okay. And so obviously the government then technically loses a source of revenue if that person doesn't have a job. At the same time, because their platform talks about the guaranteed livable income, that could become a situation where, especially as you try to retrain people for employment that can't be automated, you want to be able to make sure that they can survive. So the argument is that if, let's say a business, let's say manufacturing, because manufacturing is probably one of the easiest things that could be automated. Okay. So let's say you have a plant that has 100 employees in it.
Yeah.
Okay. And just as a 1-to-1 ratio thing, let's say each employee does an individual job, and that individual job would have to be replaced by an individual robot or whatever. Let's say 50 of those jobs get replaced with robots, and 50 of them are still humans. So the humans are still going to get paid the way that they get paid, and they're still going to have taxes deducted off their paychecks, and those taxes are going to get paid that way. The robots don't earn income individually. I mean, obviously they're earning income for the business because they're processing product. So they're not earning an income, which means they're not getting taxed, which means the government's losing tax revenue because yes, the profits of the business will increase because they're not paying out the wages to those 50 workers that were laid off. But the rate of tax that they're going to pay is going to be less than the rate of tax they had to pay for those employees, if that makes any sense.
It does, but they'll just move.
Maybe.
Like if you want to tax a company because they're going to go on automated, unless they're local, like they can't move. If they're a tall international, bye.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to take the profit loss, right? Especially in the other company, because they're saying artificial intelligence as well. So if your company uses a scheduling software and no longer needs a scheduler,
yeah,
right? They can cut up the corporations. So they say, well, we're not cutting that job. We're now outsourcing that thing. So we've just skipped around that loophole. And then that job's gone now too. And not only have you lost the job, you've also lost that revenue because now they're outsourcing to the U.S. Who cares? It doesn't matter where.
I think I'm wondering if maybe the idea there is if they're not paying the employee $50,000, that means they're going to make $50,000 more in profit, but we still want them to pay that $10,000 in taxes because if they hadn't automated the position, that employee would still exist and those taxes would still exist. I mean, I can kind of see it from both sides, right? Like I can understand that there could be an issue with decreased government revenues because of less people in the workforce. Maybe you combat that with increased corporate tax rate, like increasing it beyond the increase that's in this platform, instead of saying we're going to tax that AI as though it's a person.
No, it's still separately. If you try and force people to pay for computers, they're just going to go somewhere else to get the stuff.
Yeah, but then if they sell their products back to Canada, we'll go back to that transnational e-commerce tax situation.
Yeah, because
they'll still have to pay taxes on the profits.
if you want to use your manufacturing job, yeah, sure, they're out 50 jobs. But if you start taxing those 50 jobs, you're at 100 jobs now,
Yeah, I know.
right? It doesn't work. It only works in local. And the local businesses. So you're now taxing the local guys?
No, because what they're saying is that small businesses will be exempt.
I didn't say small. I said local.
I guess a local business isn't necessarily small because
Right?
think about the Oshawa plant, right?
GM.
Yeah, that's not a small business,
No.
but it is a local business.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Healthcare, pharma care for all, similar to the NDP, so I don't really need to go too much into that. Addressing the opioid crisis as a healthcare issue instead of a crime issue.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah, and
Very much.
and decriminalizing drug possession.
Yeah, that's the Portugal model.
Yeah.
And Portugal doesn't have a drug problem any more than any other place. I should
Yeah.
say that.
Yes.
Let's rephrase that. They're not like magically, oh, there's no drugs there. Yet there's still drugs.
Yes, there's still drugs. Yes. Ending poverty is a big one. So currently of the 38 OECD nations, when it comes to child poverty rates, we are 25th out of 38.
Good or bad?
That's pretty bad. We're in the bottom half.
Oh, yeah. Well,
That's
there's
pretty
reasons
bad.
for that.
Yes. So obviously trying to improve that. Again, the guaranteed livable income comes into place with that. Although what I did here, what they mentioned in here in regards to the ending poverty, and it would be interesting to see the calculations on how they'd figure out this guaranteed livable income is specifically in this section. They say the guaranteed livable income would be created to replace current supports such as disability, social assistance, and the guaranteed income supplement for seniors.
They're just combining it, so it's under one hood.
So they base it on the market-based measure. So based on regions, determine how much that guaranteed livable income would be. If you earn additional income, the guaranteed livable income would not immediately be clawed back based on that additional earnings. But what would happen is that if you earn above a certain level of income, which probably would have to change based on region, then you would pay the guaranteed livable income back on your taxes. Yeah, it does replace other support programs. So again, it would be interesting, kind of like how the Canada Child Benefit was created, and it replaced the child tax benefit, the universal child care benefit, the fitness and arts tax credit. The Liberals got rid of all of those programs and then just said, "Here's the new Canada Child Benefit."
Yeah.
And technically, more families are getting more money from the Canada Child Benefit than they were getting from all of those other separate programs. So there's no numbers to say whether this would do the same, but you'd hope that it would.
Yeah, streamlining often helps. There will be one or two people that won't help. However, for the most part, it helps. Because if it's confusing, some people just don't even do it.
Safe, affordable housing. So one, being an accountant, was removing the deemed GST when developers place condos on the market as rentals. So when you build a new house in this country, a new house, okay, or you significantly renovate your house, the government can deem that as new stock. When you sell that house to someone else, if it is new stock, you have to charge the HST or GST, as it were, depending on your province. And you got to pay that money to the government because it's sales taxes and it's the government's money. The downside, though, is that let's say you're a builder. As soon as you put a renter in there, you are, quote unquote, deemed to have sold that property, not for income tax purposes, but for sales tax purposes. If the house is worth $500,000 at the time that you start renting it out, guess what? Even though you haven't sold the property, you owe the government $65,000 in HST using 13% for Ontario. Never mind where you're going to get that $65,000 from, but you better come up with it somewhere. Mm-hmm. So the idea here is that developers could rent out the condo because trying to increase the rental inventory in the country because that's an issue. So the idea is that don't penalize the developers for renting out the condos because they can't sell them or because they're having trouble selling them.
Yep.
Or because they want to eliminate selling them to money launderers.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different things.
Right. Post-secondary education. So make college and university tuition free, and how the Green Party says they'd pay for that is since there would be no tuitions, there would be no need for bursaries, tuition tax credits. They would eliminate student loans. So as a result, they would eliminate the costs of administering the student loan system. And then schools wouldn't have to give out scholarships, so they can redirect the money from their scholarship programs to other student costs.
It wouldn't balance, but I agree with having no tuition.
I don't necessarily think it would balance either, but especially when it feels like the universities, because they're not part of the public education system in this country, it feels like they're run like for-profit businesses.
Yeah.
So supporting seniors, respecting and supporting seniors. So ensuring Canada Pension remains adaptive and increasing target income replacement rate from 25% to 50%. I'm going to guess the way that that's worded essentially is doubling the payout of Canada Pension.
Yeah, that'll be hard. Like they've already balanced their book, so to speak. So it's not like I'm like, oh, what are they going to get the money? They've already proven that they're going to get the money.
yeah.
So,
well, even a few months ago, in an interview with one, I think he's the director of the board with the Canada Pension Plan Investment Board, said that they've, the actuarial studies show that Canada Pension Plan has enough money to fund its liabilities for over the next 75 years.
yeah.
Like, we'll be dead.
No, I'll be alive. I'll have my robot body.
Okay, well, yeah, but your robot body won't be eligible for Canada Pension.
Oh, no. It'll be part of the AI program, the stuff that'll be covered. It'll be good.
Okay. All right.
They make it for the companies. They'll should make it for the government as well.
Yeah, maybe they will. Protecting private pensions by amending the Bankruptcy and Insolvency Act to establish preeminence of pensioners. So essentially, this whole problem with businesses going bankrupt, Sears, and not paying out their pensioners, but paying out their CEO and other members of the board of directors massive bonuses and dividends.
Yeah, that's just the biggest crock. Why they did that is because, I mean, if you're the president, are you going to put in a clause for you to get paid before the pensioners? Of course you are. Like, it's just, that's how it's going to work, but shouldn't be.
Honoring veterans. Restore periodic payments to veterans to pre-2006 levels. Yes, let's remember the periodic payment system was removed by who?
Oh, Harper.
Yeah.
But it wasn't reinstated by the Liberals either.
It wasn't. I know.
The criticism could go both ways.
Yes, it could. It definitely could. I'm not denying that. I mean,
they're not doing anything about it. They're not even addressing it. It's not in their platform anywhere.
no, you know what? Reintroducing the periodic payments is not, but reintroducing some of the other support programs that were removed by the Conservatives was and has been. But nobody talks about that. All they talk about is that 2-second soundbite where Trudeau said the veterans are asking for too much from us.
Good job.
Yeah, I know.
Good job.
I know. Advancing gender equality, which is kind of investing in domestic violence issues, providing more access to shelters, protecting sex workers. So reform sex work laws to make the industry legal and public.
Tax them.
Well, yeah, yes, they would have to tax
them heavily.
Yes.
A+.
Okay, done. Mike for sex work.
Like, and I'm not saying like people are like, oh, I'm like, understand people want to do this anyways. Let's tax it and regulate it.
Yep, for sure. And then I guess also as a part of that, increased funding for human trafficking investigations. That's important too, absolutely. Advancing LGBTQI2 plus rights. I thought there was more initials to that.
LGBT
Q2IS. Yeah.
QI2S.
They didn't have the S in their platform.
That's because it's two spirits.
Yes, the 2 stands for two-spirit, yes. And then plus.
Yes.
They took
Go
the
ahead
S.
and read what that is.
They took
I'm
the S.
going to slant here.
The which?
The lesbian, gay.
Oh, the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgendered, queer. I don't remember what the I is.
Intersex.
Intersex. Is that like non-binary?
No,
that's
that
different
means
too.
That you.
Let's not go there. We just
Now you're gonna
won't.
make me
We're unfortunately ignorant on this topic, or somewhat ignorant on this topic. Okay, so the first one on this one.
That's because they added more acronyms to
I
it.
know they did. Okay, LGBT done.
Yeah,
I'm sorry if I cut anybody out. I'm not trying to. I'm trying to be inclusive.
We appreciate
you've got
you.
too many initials. Okay,
We appreciate you. We accept what you are. Move on.
that's right. Okay, the first point that I read in this part of the platform, I was kind of shocked isn't the right word, but mildly surprised that this was still a law in the criminal code. So first of all is repealing federal laws that discriminate on sexuality, including section 159 of the criminal code. Do you know what section 159 of the criminal code is?
I do. I looked it up and almost died laughing.
Yeah. Anal intercourse is still currently illegal in Canada.
I thought they actually got rid of it. I thought the Liberals got rid of it. I'm serious.
Well, apparently they didn't.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind, everybody. Don't get caught. Be safe. And use lube. And the discriminatory blood ban. So blood donations by the LGBT community. Ban conversion therapy. Accessible facilities in federal buildings, including gender-neutral washrooms and changing facilities. You got a smirk on your face. What's up?
No, I'm just saying. Just make all washrooms gender neutral. Be done with it.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah. You could take the urinals out and just put a couple more stalls.
Yeah, because there's always a lineup at the women's. There's never a lineup at the men's. Just make them all universal. And who cares? I don't care if there's a woman behind me.
No, not really. Not really.
I guess maybe this because I'm a dad. I don't know.
Maybe. Not only a dad, but a dad to two girls. Maybe. It's like when they were really young, you had to take them in the bathroom with you anyways.
Yeah, and it was super awkward.
Right.
Right? When I take I don't want my 5-year-old or my 4-year-old to go in by herself, but at the same point in time, it's at that awkward stage. So you just kind of get like the sideways glance. But it's like, well, I'm have to take them in somewhere.
Yeah, you're not wrong, though. I mean, really, if all bathrooms were gender neutral, it's not like...
We don't care. This is Canada.
That's right.
Like, and we don't have to worry about the... Yeah.
Yeah. Good governance. I think we're getting close to the end of this thing. Sorry. As a true Canadian, I say sorry. Minimize the power of party whips over individual MPs. I like that one, actually. Because, really, every single individual in your party agrees with the bill that you've tabled, that you're voting on? Probably not.
It's not as bad. It's not that bad. Like they do.
Oh, I don't know.
75%. That's the last report I saw.
That's still really high.
Yeah, but
and there's still going to be a lot of people within that 75% of the time where they're voting on something that they don't agree on, or they know they're voting on something that isn't going to be beneficial to their constituents. Like, that's the problem I have with our government right now. Is never mind the fact that our election has changed from being about elect the person that you think would best represent your riding to be we're voting for the prime minister.
Wrong.
We're not voting for the prime minister.
No, we're not. You're too glossy over thinking. Is that the right word? No. But anyway, you're thinking that we vote for the prime minister. No, we don't vote for the prime minister. No. We vote for the person we don't want in power.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Strategic voting and all that.
Like, it's not like
ABC.
Right? It's not. I don't want to vote this person. I want to vote so that way that person doesn't get it.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's how we vote.
Okay. With this whole SNC-Lavalin situation that's been going on, strengthen the Conflict of Interest Act to include penalties, both financial and otherwise.
Fine. Just like they want to increase the protection for whistleblowing, which I think is a good thing because that's way worse of a problem. Cough. Way better than the SNC-Lavalin scandal. Cough.
I don't know what you're talking about. I kind of like... this one's interesting, but I don't really know if it would necessarily do as much as they think. Creating an independent oversight committee for MPs' salaries, expense accounts, and office budgets.
Well, expense accounts is where the problem is.
Yeah, so it's kind of like providing more transparency to what our government officials are spending money on and how much money they're spending.
Yeah, because some of it's bad.
Flying your lobbyist husband from out in Vancouver all the way to Ottawa.
Or how about BC was the worst.
Yes. Yeah,
that's right too. Because they went overseas. They went to England to get fitted.
From BC?
Yes.
You might as well have flown to Japan.
Because they went to BC to get properly fitted.
All right.
That scandal's not done.
I didn't even know about this one.
Oh man, that BC scandal's not done.
Is it like a provincial thing, or is it like they're federal MPs from BC?
No, provincial.
Oh, it's provincial. Okay, maybe that's why I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, no,
I gotta look
at a juicy one.
Oh, okay, all right. I gotta look at more of this provincial stuff outside of Ontario. That's part of my problem. Transparency in government. So basically, like increasing access through the Access to Information Act, setting enforceable deadlines on access to information requests, override government exemptions when they come to access to information, and then make the access to information request actions, so the actions that the government takes to meet access to information requests public.
Yes.
So if the government decides to deny certain information by way of through the Access to Information Act, there would be public record that they denied it and why they denied it,
Yes.
so that people can protest.
And so they know why.
That's
and
right.
And they can protest either way.
Right. Prohibit surveillance of Canadians that protest government.
That was, again, a problem in BC.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well,
what they were-
that's a problem right now in Alberta.
in Alberta.
This
yeah.
friggin' this un-Albertan activities website or whatever. What is
$30
it?
million that Jason Kenney's spending.
Yeah, I know. I know.
On what? To make sure that foreign lobbyists don't put money into Alberta to
Protest against pipelines. Never
Because-
mind all the foreign money that's in the friggin' oil and gas industry as it is.
Yeah. And what I like is they're like, well, these companies are putting in money. And I'm like, yeah, they're putting money into Greenpeace.
Yes. Okay, this will be the last one. This will be the last point that I'll go over. So under reforming democratic institutions, we've had an episode on electoral reform. So it's creating a citizens' assembly on electoral reform to make recommendations for electoral systems that make every vote count.
Yes. Ending first past the post.
And first past the post.
Thank
Do it.
God.
Do it now. Do it like right now. I don't even care if the election's in a month. Do it right now.
Yes.
Like, let's just change the election, how the election works right now.
They want to lower the voting age too.
They do want to lower it to 16, and I know you already said that you're not in favor of that, and
God,
I'm on the fence. So.
I know why they want to do it, so that way they can get more votes. But
Yeah, yeah. I guess you know the chances are that it would be left-leaning parties that would get more votes as well, right? But I guess the Green Party could certainly potentially get more votes from people that are between the ages of 16 and 18. I would think.
because those people from 16, 18 should be caring more about the environment than people that are 65.
Yes, for sure. Okay, the last one I guess I'll go over here, which I like, and this is a good way to finish up a party platform episode, is that make it a requirement that all parties must submit their election platforms to the Parliamentary Budget Office for review before releasing them.
Yes. Cough, Doug Ford.
Well, we don't have a provincial Parliamentary Budget Office yet.
I don't care.
Yet. We should have one. There should be something similar in every province. I have to admit, the Parliamentary Budget Office is one of those things that the Harper government did well, and it is working amazingly. So kudos for that. But I agree. The only reason why the Green Platform came out on the 16th of September, 2019, in case you're listening to this 3 years from now, is because they submitted it to the Parliamentary Budget Officer, and they costed it. And they approved it. There's very little numbers in this platform, but the only reason why we have this platform is because it has been reviewed and approved by the Parliamentary Budget Office.
Yes.
So,
Which is good. Because
so of the two platforms we have right now, this is one that you could probably feel confident in voting about or voting for.
and knowing what it is.
Right. Not that I'm endorsing the Green Party.
I am.
Okay, well...
I'll boldly say it. I wasn't originally going to be like, which party am I going for? Well, they're the one that's actually done it. And I want people to understand something. In particular, they have a policy on guns that I don't like.
Yeah, that's right. Because that was in this one of the sections I didn't get to, which was about they want to ban assault weapons. Which I mean, I guess we have very little problem with assault weapons in this country, but
they want to put a confidential buyback program.
And then, I mean, the Liberals, I think the Liberals technically also mentioned this a couple of days ago, but it's something to do with providing municipalities with the capability of restricting handguns or something like that, like restricting the ownership of handguns within...
Oh, I haven't looked at the Liberals platform.
Well, there was something similar in the Green platform about that as well.
Yeah, the Green platform didn't explore very well, but I don't like the Greens platform on guns to begin with. Let's just put it that simply.
Right.
And there's other things, but I mean, it's better. It has more concrete things that I can be like, well, I can have a conversation with Elizabeth May on this conversation. I can go up to her and say, listen, I don't like this. Can you change this because of these reasons? And for the most part, most of her policies in there have this theme of common sense approach to it.
Yep.
Like, these are the things that we should be doing.
Yeah.
Or if she's doing something that's along her ideology as opposed to a bankroll.
Right.
Right.
Which is not. It's. I think there's very little lobbyist intervention in this platform.
Yeah, like she's not drinking chocolate milk.
Right. So that's pretty long.
Yep.
All right. Anyways, so this has been the Green Party platform. Endorsed by Mike.
Endorsed by Mike. Yep.
All right. Anyways, my name's Adam.
My name's Mike.
We'll talk to you soon.